Go.
Okay. Tonight is the second class of optimal health, healthy eating. Tonight's focus will be how to eat/live paleo and how to start. Our focuses will be to substitute carbs tonight, so we'll be substituting noodles, rice, and bread. So we're going to make that tonight, and you'll get to see how we make it, and then I'll share the recipes also. And we're also going to talk about portion size or percentages of what your diet should consist of to make it healthy. So last class we remember that what is paleo? So you guys know? You remember?
No grain, no dairy.
Yes. Well, basically yes. No grain, no dairy, no refined sugars, no legumes is optimal, and if possible, organic and grass-fed, and no antibiotics in your meats. And we remember that the reason why we're doing this is because of today's society has put so many omega-6s and 9s in the foods that our balance is off kilter. Therefore, it's causing us to have inflammation and lots of disease, and that is the main reason why I do it, is to prevent disease.
And it tastes good.
Oh, and it tastes good, and your body feels good, and you keep your body at your, what they call normal weight, is what your body should have, because it will assume that if you're doing it properly. So tonight we're going to be cooking as we're talking. So tonight we're going to make this one I have eaten, or I've made it 4 to 5 times, but it is paleo bread, and it will be, the base will be cashew butter, and in the one that I have made already, I made my own cashew butter because it costs so much, and cashews are cheaper by themselves. So this recipe is called grain-free sandwich bread. So what we're going to do first is we're going to blend all these things together. I used my Vitamix at home to make my cashew butter. It makes it real sticky, and then you add everything to it. So we're going to put it all in here, and then we'll have to whip up the egg whites so it will be loud when we do that. So first, and while I'm doing this, I'm going to have you guys chop up some stuff to be ready for the next thing. Okay, you did the onions last time. Would you like to do the onions this time? So let's do a half an onion, and
I'm making bruschetta to go on top of the bread.
that is already made, but we're going to make it from scratch. Okay, you have
Pre-made bread.
cutting boards too. Okay,
Shown on
you
my
take the
stuff.
cilantro, and then I need another bowl.
Another mixing bowl.
Yes.
Something.
And here is your. All right, so
You just chop them like this, or you take them
Um,
like this?
you can do whatever, and then I use the rest later on. And then this part will need to get little.
How big do
Okay.
you want this?
Maybe, do you have one of these?
Glass bowl?
Yeah, just to put it in. All right, so first we're gonna do the 4 eggs. We're gonna separate. Should have been a little more organized here. I need 4 eggs.
This is for cilantro?
All right, sorry. Okay, so first we're gonna separate the eggs real fast because we're gonna have to whip up the egg whites. That's what makes the bread fluffy. And while I'm doing this, if you can do without bread altogether, that is preferred, because you can overeat on bread like bakery goods, even if they're paleo. So potato roasted to make it hard. You can use that as a sandwich, or the bottom part of an open face sandwich. What I like also is you take a pepper, a full-size pepper, and
Bell pepper.
bell pepper, yes, not jalapeno.
There's lots of kinds of peppers.
And slice it in half, and then you fill it with like a piece of lunch meat or avocado, cucumbers, and just fill it up, and then you have this sandwich, and it's so good. Unless you don't like peppers like my husband. But those are ways you can substitute not having a bread at all. But if you are just beginning and you like a sandwich, or you want a piece of toast with avocados and eggs in the morning, then you can make a loaf of bread, and it will stay a week in the refrigerator. It does require being toasted to get it crisp, or it's kind of gooey. Not gooey, but I'll let you feel what it feels like before it goes in the toaster. All right, so we are doing a cup of cashew butter, and you'll want to probably not eat a bunch of it because it is very filling. So that's a plus, because nuts tend to be filling, but you can overdo on the nuts too. Okay. I'm telling you when I'm not measuring, okay? This is really stiff, which is why you. All right. All right, Tiffany, will you like to start doing the next thing? So, do you have another cutting board?
Oh, the cutting boards. Yes. How big for the squash?
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, the squash would be good.
Montana, don't use it.
And if you'll explain cutting that and the recipe for that while I'm in the process of work.
This is a spaghetti squash. A really easy substitute for spaghetti, but I like it just plain. Stick it off. Alright, I'm reusing a knife that I used for cutting this one earlier, but you simply cut it in half. And these are in the produce section at most grocery stores. This is the inside. Scoop out the guts. You're eating this part of it. So scoop out the seeds and the fibers on the inside. Some people eat them, some people don't. They're sort of bitter.
Put just a teeny tiny bit of honey in this bread, or if you want sweet bread, then you put more. Like, you can make French toast out of it, and if you think you need the extra sugar in it, I personally think it is just fine without.
So you have to use a little bit of elbow grease to cut it open and scoop out the insides.
You get the best of both worlds, two recipes going on at once. Look at that. I would lift this off, but I won't.
Do you ever use agave?
I don't. Can you tell about that?
Agave is extremely high in fructose, and fructose in general is really not very good for you, especially in concentrated form. Now, agave doesn't have high fructose corn syrup. Obviously, it's in there already, but fructose is processed by the body completely differently. It's processed through the liver and isn't really great for you. And this is part of the reason why it's important not to drink fruit juice as opposed to just have fruit. So agave is really not very good for you. It's very, very high in fructose.
Okay.
Coconut sugar, I'm guessing is.
No, we use
Coconut
it
sugar,
very
if you're going to use a
seldom.
sugar, it's not a bad one. It's a lot like cane sugar in the form that it's in.
Texture-wise.
Yeah.
It's the easiest to substitute because if you're doing a dry sugar, it's already dry.
And, you know, obviously sugar has problems, lots and lots of problems, but if you're going to be making something that calls for it, it's not necessarily a bad one.
Just like refined sugar, and even like beet sugar, they said is not paleo either, which we eat beets, so it's kind of odd. So just use it sparingly.
If you have a cup of coffee or a cup of hot tea or something, what would you use to sweeten it? Honey?
Honey, I would, because there's lots of good properties in honey.
Okay.
Especially
Local as
if you
possible.
can get it local for allergy purposes.
But any
So-
sugar is easy to overdo.
Yes.
Right. And I mean,
I'm good at doing that.
I personally have learned to drink like black coffee, and if I put anything in it, then they say to put extra healthy fats. So sometimes I will put ghee or even coconut oil in it, and it kind of gives it flavor. But I put essential oils in it, and I even put like cinnamon or just stuff that has good properties, because cinnamon has good properties. I put peppermint in it, just all kinds of stuff.
Or heavy whipping cream is good in coffee. It adds flavor and adds that satisfying feeling. But
Or
there's
coconut milk.
yeah,
is what
coconut
I would
milk's
do
another
for-
one,
So you don't
or
do
coconut
dairy.
cream.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
about,
the-
coconut.
Heavy
Actually
whipping
all the bad properties, that there's no casein in heavy whipping cream. There's the stuff that's bad in dairy is pretty much taken out.
So use heavy whipping cream.
Some people do. It's not considered paleo, but it's
Right,
really
right.
not.
Which do you
It's
want me to
a
use?
lot of the bad parts of dairy are taken out of it,
Yeah, use that.
essentially.
Use this for your spaghetti squash. Okay, and here's your broth. So the recipe that I gave you for this spaghetti squash is a lot different than what this is, because I couldn't find the way that we cook it. So if you wanted to make any additions, you can just say that we are adding a little chicken stock. You can do any kind of broth and put it at the bottom, and it soaks it up and gives it a flavor already, so you don't have to season it a lot. But if you want it just plain, then the recipe says just a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper
Are you gonna put the broth where, in the pan?
in the bottom. That's why
Oh,
we're
okay.
using a Jelly Roll pan.
Put it face
And
down.
put a little bit,
And then put a-
absorbs it.
And it helps it cook faster. So without broth or water or whatever, if there's no liquid, it's gonna be a little more dry. And take a little longer. So what I typically do is I coat the inside of these with oil, salt, and pepper, and then put them face down. After they're both in there, usually fill it enough to cover the entire bottom at least. And then I preheated the oven to 420 convection, mostly because I'm impatient and like to cook really fast. So, the slower, longer, lower temperature you cook it, the more tender it's going to be.
The crock pot and the Instapot are good for those too.
You just stick the whole thing in there? I'm stealing
Cut
something.
it in half.
Cut it in half and put that in there. Huh.
That's not so
Or
long.
you could put it in a crock pot.
Now, do you put any olive oil or anything on it, or just plain?
I just
Stick it
put
in
a
there?
little water just to
At the
let it
bottom.
steam.
Well, that would be something for those impatient cookers.
Well, yes, an Instapot would be nice too. I don't have one of those.
Alright, so I've got the wet ingredients, and then on a separate bowl, I'm gonna put the dry ingredients. it can smell like garlic. Chop up some of that too. And anyone?
I do
How many
like
do we need?
the onion board.
Mom, how much?
Maybe 3. 3 or 4. For the
Or 5.
5. It's for the cauliflower. All right. So you need 1/4 cup. This is coconut flour. And some of the flour substitutes for if you want to make breads or muffins or whatever, it would be coconut flour, almond flour, yes, cassava flour, and that how do you say it? Cassava?
Cassava is how.
Cassava. Okay. Cassava
All of the
flour
above.
and plantain flour. Yeah, I just found that. So, then, no, so much for using a separate bowl. Just put it in the top. And then she makes, such as if you have children that like nuggets or fish
Lots and
sticks.
lots of things.
Tell them what you put for your fish sticks.
So I made fish sticks for the first time the other day, and they were surprisingly good. I haven't had fish sticks since I was little. I use egg as the liquid, and then so roll the fish in the egg, and then the batter part is almond flour, Italian seasoning, salt, pepper. That might be it. Mix that really well, and then roll them in that. And
What kind of fish?
I used cod. I usually don't buy white fish, but Mary, our 11-year-old, was like, I ask everyone to share and give me input for our menu, and I make out a menu for daily breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she was like, let's have fish sticks. And I'm like, Mary, I'm not going to buy pre-made fish sticks. We don't eat that. And she was like, okay, well, what about making them? And I was like, we can try it. I've never done that before. So,
Okay.
all right, I'm going to put the spaghetti squash in the oven.
And if you put the bread in there too.
And the bread.
Fish one of these out. This is what the bread consistency is. I think mine was, I'm thinking this is gonna be fluffier because I'm gonna fold in the egg whites compared to putting it in my blender, and it kind of deflates some of it. So you can have this because everybody's touched it if you want.
Thank you.
You can eat this piece.
Okay, now, would you like to blend up the eggs? This is where we're gonna be loud, okay? On the camera there. But over here. You make a bowl. You're making a mess in your kitchen.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
Next time we're using your kitchen.
No. Maybe later. Okay, here, it is right here.
I know, but that bowl's fine. Oh, they're already in
They're
there.
already in there. They're ready to be blended. Okay? So, where it's done, we're gonna make it where it has peaks, and then I'll fold it into the bread. And while she's doing that, I'm gonna get the pan ready. Parchment paper is very good for.
It's your friend.
It is my friend. In fact, I'm totally out. She should have bought some at the store while I was there. So, it helps things come out of the pan, but it also prevents your pan from getting all yucky, such as the sheets that we put down underneath those, what do you call it, rubbery silicone.
Silicone hats. I don't know.
So they're good for protecting, but our next class is going to be roasting vegetables, and I love to put it down for roasting vegetables so you don't get, depending on how dark you like them, if you get it too dark, then it darkens your pan faster than other things. So, what I usually like to do with this Oh, you
You're
know?
talking, I do. In the far drawer in the middle. They're not cooking scissors, they're
Okay.
just normal scissors.
Okay. All right.
I'm waiting on you to do it.
Okay.
Shall I go or not yet?
Sure, you can go.
In our house, there's a rule that if you're about to turn on something loud, you're supposed to say loud noises, so everyone's aware. Loud noises.
Okay, very good.
Did you add anything else, or was this just it?
No, just eggs. I usually put, because the recipe says to put coconut oil in the pan too, so I'm going to put it on the ends. But you can put a little bit on your paper if you want, but I don't think it's necessary, but just on the ends. And I usually get my chip clips and clip it to the thing so the paper stays down. I have a process. Okay, I am going to use my fingers on this. I put my fingers when I wash them in your coconut oil. I think you'll be fine.
You wash them with coconut oil?
I washed them before I put them in there. All right. Do you need some on your body?
I just eat it straight sometimes. I'm not going to eat it off of you. You want me to fold this in?
All right. Yes. If you'd like to, fold that right in.
Cannot tell.
So the next thing, I'm going to turn, no, we're going to get to chopping. So we've got the cilantro and, yeah, I'm not very sure that was on it. I'll use this bowl. And then, this is going to be messy, so we'll have Moose clean it up after we're done. So while I'm cooking, I'm a little messy in my kitchen, so I get stuff on the floor. So I always look up if it's good for your dogs, because it falls on there. So cauliflower, broccoli, carrots, sweet potatoes are all good for your dogs. You can let them have it. Even the stalks of the cabbage, sometimes they like that crunch. Cucumbers, jicama, not so much because they don't like it.
Those just smell like blueberries, I found out.
Well, blueberries are okay because they put that in my dog food. Yes.
Let's just reiterate, you're making the bread,
I'm
We're
making
finishing the
cashew
bread, fluffing it up, and we're going to put it in this dish.
and the cilantro's going in the rice.
Right. So this is what we're talking about, making a mess. So this can be done in a food processor. It's less messy. But tonight we're going to chop it up.
By hand?
Yes. So chop it as little as you can. It's okay. We're going to combine some of this, or you can get it at Walmart. We
This
are
is-
promoting Walmart.
This is
Organic,
a little bit bigger than I usually make it.
because your food processor will make it a little tiny. But we'll start with this blob, and I'm going to take this part, and if you'll put it in there.
You took, I don't have enough.
Oh, there you go. Give you part. There's your onion. So I made cauliflower rice the other day. I didn't need 3 heads, so this is the 3rd head, but all of it is almost gone. It is a favorite for a dinner to make.
My kids like it in a stir fry type fried rice almost. So I do chicken thighs with cauliflower rice and usually veggies that are like bell peppers, carrots, I use sugar snap peas, but
I'm gonna flip these over.
some people don't consider that paleo and some people do. My kids love them, so we eat them.
So why would they not? Oh, just the.
It's like a legume.
They're like legumes. I don't know what the definition exactly of a legume is, but
Trying to get out.
a lot of
Fans.
beans.
All the fans.
Beans are not. So green beans, we eat green beans. It's hard to feed picky kids who, you know, they don't eat paleo full time. They
Alright,
eat
so
blended family.
I'm gonna turn my pan on. I'm just cooking it in my pan. So what I usually start with is I'm gonna put a little olive oil in the bottom and put the onions, the garlic, and the cilantro in the bottom. And then I'll add the cauliflower rice and a little bit of ghee is what I put in it. And then some broth and then the limes. Okay, and a trick to not getting it overdone. Let's say if you're doing a stir fry and you're wanting, or even, what do you call it, chicken fried rice. Do all your vegetables first, do the rice on the top, and just, you know, kind of barely get it done because then it can be mushy and then it might not taste like rice. So to get a good consistency, you have to keep kind of testing it to make sure that it's overcooked. But,
Ta-da!
yes. All right. So then we're gonna pour that right in there, just like that, and then we will cut the sides of the paper off. So they don't. I don't know if it would happen, but I always think that my paper might catch a fire.
That's right. It was coated in some form of wax. It's a lot easier in a food processor, just saying.
Yes. Very good. Look at that. Look at you guys go. But let's say on a sailboat, we made cauliflower rice. Just like that, chopping it up just like that. So it can be done if you're, you know, let's say if you're camping.
Or you could pick not making cauliflower rice while you're camping.
I'm just saying you can have gourmet meals on a sailboat if you want.
You can make gourmet meals that don't involve cauliflower rice.
Alright.
I don't know what the oven is supposed to be on for that.
Not very high.
Okay, so the spaghetti squash.
Check the spaghetti squash.
I usually have a fork. I don't know if it's here or not. And poke the exterior of the squash.
That's okay.
So
These aren't very small.
right now it is extremely hard to poke it through.
So it's not
it is
done.
not done.
Oh, take those out.
Take them. Ooh, they're pretty.
So we're gonna wait on the bread, but this is what it looks like. Ta-da! I don't know. You can't see it, can you? No. It's really okay. I'm gonna take it over there. So we toasted already made bread that I made yesterday. That it was in the refrigerator, and so we're toasting it. So we're gonna put some bruschetta on the top. So that will be one thing we eat, but it's too hot right now. The next thing we're gonna do is we're making the cauliflower rice, and then she's gonna throw the spaghetti squash that she already had made in the pan to warm it up, and we're gonna put some more cilantro and some bacon bits. This is what I personally like because I don't like pork, bacon. And this is already made. And it has no nitrates in it. And very easy to undo and chop up and put in salads and such if you're in a hurry.
So you just peel it open and
There you
So
go.
the nitrates is the bad thing.
Yes. Yes.
And why, where are they bad?
Tell us why they're bad.
Nitrates are altered in the body and they actually become something that's cancer causing, sorry. So that, if you think about it, the nitrates are, have you ever had a urine test at the doctor? They check for that in your urine, and that's a bacterial cycle, basically a byproduct of bacterial metabolism. And that's why they put it in things so bacteria can't grow in it. So it's really not very good for you.
A preservative.
Yeah.
So we put it in lunch meat a lot.
Yes.
By
So
ingesting it, you
you
are
buy the non-nitrates
Preserving.
in the lunch meats if you're gonna do
you're
it.
what, preserving your insides.
Okay, if you will get
Ready
your
to go?
pan ready
Okay.
for that.
So, this is what the innards of a, I know, thank you. Spaghetti squash cooked. The one that I cooked earlier, I cooked in a deeper pan, and I had more broth, so it's a little more moist. I personally, I really like spaghetti squash.
Don't put a lot in,
Oh my goodness, but I like olive oil.
but I'm just saying, it's already gooey.
It's gonna be wonderful.
2 cooks in the kitchen. Related. There you go.
I like high fat. I really like the taste of fat. The olive oil, coconut oil, just, they're more calories. So you have more energy. So you just eat fat, right?
That's, well, a keto diet is different than paleo because it has like a high content of fat, a high content of meat, and then a very low content of carbs. Although paleo is lower carb than the regular society's diet, it still has carbs. You have carbs in your vegetables. So
Fruit is all okay.
fruit, it depends on where you want to go with paleo. Because let's say if you are diabetic or what else?
That's the big one.
That's the big one. You want to cut out like all your fruit and not eat that. You just need to limit it. So that's our next thing is going to be the percentages of your diet. Let's say per day, or you know you can figure it out. Let's say if you buy something and you have a lot of this, you might have a high content of this in your diet for 1 week. Especially if you're budgeting, you might find sweet potatoes on sale. You might buy a lot, and so you make it some green, and then when I use fresh, like this, I don't have fresh. Oh, well, we do have fresh, yes. You can do it.
I personally don't like a lot of fruit, so my carbs come from my vegetables. Carrots.
But your high carbs would be a sweet potato, your root vegetables have a lot of carbs in them. Onions have a little bit, the sweeter onions, they have more carbs.
So you don't eat sugar though?
We don't eat sugar in this house. We eat other forms of sweeteners.
Yeah,
So
you don't eat refined sugar.
we don't eat refined
but they
sugar.
make brownies and they make
we had donuts for breakfast.
And
That was
so
Paleo
they eat a lot-
donuts.
yes.
They eat a
So
lot.
almond flour,
Yeah.
maple syrup. We do use Enjoy Life brand of chocolate chips, which are
Have a little bit of
allergen
sugar in
free
them.
of many, like they have a huge list on the back of the package of all the allergens that they do not include, but it does have a small amount of cane
Sugar.
sugar in it.
But you can make your own chocolate without sugar in
Yes,
it.
you can. Mary did that and it was really good actually.
I think that's the part that is still the hardest for me. That's the one thing. You don't eat fruit and you don't eat sugar, like wait.
Oh no,
You eat sweet things.
I do eat sweet things.
Say she eats pineapple and strawberries.
Pineapple apple and strawberries and frozen blueberries. That is the extent of
Those are really sweet.
Yeah.
Those are your sweeter.
Sweet to me is brownies.
We drink
Yes.
juice in this house. My mom doesn't believe in juice.
We eat a fruit and water. That's the juice.
I'm very texture oriented, so I don't like a lot of fruits. Whoa, loose.
Yeah. It's all good. All right, we're gonna put the last bit in here. That's good. That's good.
Watch where you set. I dropped it.
We're
So
gonna scrape that right.
I really like spaghetti squash with breakfast. I know that sounds weird, but
Yeah, you can put it in.
fry
Put it in
it
a.
like hash instead of hash browns.
Uh-huh.
And
See, it's kind of messy, but
you
you
can
can
make
make
a nest for your eggs, or just as a side. It tastes really good with fish as a side, just salt and pepper and olive oil. Stealing
So then after you cook it, you always do this? You
No.
don't just eat it out of it?
I often just eat it out of that. This was a time-sensitive preparation. I typically make everything right before it's time. I say that
But you
sometimes.
can prep and
I
have
make-
it done ahead of time for
I use
those
crock
busy
pot.
people that, you know, need to
Crock pot
have
is
it
my
right.
best
Walmart
friend.
even sells it now.
Maybe so.
Pre-cooked.
So,
See,
some of
we
that
also have this,
I
that
like
you can use that instead of spaghetti squash, your doodle maker. So we have this doodle maker here, but I forgot the zucchini, but it's really fun to do. And if you have kids, it's real fun to have
Mary
them do
likes
it.
to do it, but she doesn't necessarily like to eat it. She likes hers raw.
Yeah, you can make a salad out of it, it's good.
And hers boiled.
Alright. I'm gonna turn this up just a hair bit. Think I forgot the salt.
I made spaghetti, and my husband actually ate it with the
Nice.
spaghetti noodles.
There's also another
It's really good.
substitution that looks more like the standard noodle. Heart of palm, it comes in a can, and it's all sort of in a knot when you open it. But you strain it, and then I made meat sauce, so ground turkey with tomato sauce and then herbs, and then I put 2 cans of it in this, and it cooks to where it looks very much like spaghetti. Yeah. At first, my kids are like, "I know this isn't real noodles, so what is it? If I'm gonna eat this," I'm like, "No, take a bite, and then I'll tell you what it is."
Alright,
And
can
I'm
you
gonna
poke,
use whole. What?
can I poke,
Please poke the squash. I don't need.
still a little bit more? Alright. Then I will get plates for you guys to taste it. And then we will talk about a few other substitutions besides,
I don't know what this is.
that came in this thing.
It has little hearts, so it's really sweet. All right, I'm gonna try it. If I die, you know what it is.
Okay, here,
Nope, don't eat this.
more salt. He's my tester.
Maybe a touch, yes.
All right, so for everyone watching, sorry you can't smell anything. It smells really good.
Facebook's working on an option for that.
So I'm dumping the ghee in here in case you're watching what I'm dumping.
The only thing in the
It
oven
gives it a
is
buttery flavor, it's clarified butter, so that's what I use instead of butter. It sometimes doesn't include the salt that you have in butter, so if you add more of that, but the flavor is still there, it's just not the dairy
I've heard
part.
that, and I know it's different, but what is clarified butter?
Well, they take the butter and then they boil it down and take the dairy out, and then you just have the fats in it. Alright, so
Tastes
I'm
like
gonna-
butter, I've not had
It
it.
does. It tastes a very intense flavor of butter.
Okay, so I'm gonna let that cook just a tiny bit more.
Concentrated butter.
Do you like bruschetta?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
What about
What, do you want,
balsamic?
you want, what, like blue plates?
Blue plates.
You want me to take these away?
Yes, we'll take these away. Thank you much.
Here you go, Amy.
Got the hands-on chopping. Great job, ladies. All right, so while we're doing this, on your circle on there and
Watch
get a
out.
paper.
Here I come.
Get your pencil. All right, so depending on, this is probably done, so we're gonna turn it off. Nah, it needs to be brown. No, people don't like it brown. So on the very front, there is a good one to mimic. But let's say if you're wanting to have, if you're diabetic, then you would take these starchy fruits out and include more colorful vegetables or leafy greens or more. So me personally, I want to include healthy fats. So I make that to be 5 to 10% of my plate. Then at least 25% of meats, and then the other half, no, it's like 20%, 15, 20% fruits, and then the rest vegetables. So you can do on your little pie plate what you think that you would personally want, what your goal is. If
This
you
is
just
what
want
she
to
used to
try
make
this,
for people.
I would make this wheel so you could
It's
figure
very,
out.
poor little thing. It's
old.
very sad
I don't
today.
have kids for it. But as long as you're including your protein meats, which can consist of eggs, there's new studies out that you're not supposed to eat as much as we have been. So
Nuts.
eggs. So you've got the yes or no eggs, but eggs are a yes. Your lean meats, and then a healthy fats would be olive oil, coconut oil, avocados, and nuts. But not all nuts are good. Okay, so as
We don't need nuts.
maybe not. So on your little paper, you might want to say, write down the nuts that are your best would be walnuts. Pecans are okay. Macadamia nuts, surprisingly, are good for you. They're just really expensive. Pistachios. Well, I know that. I'm saying the good nuts right now. So everything else would be not good. Okay, walnuts, pecan, pistachios, Brazil nuts.
Almonds.
They are at the very bottom of okay. They're not as good. They have more omega 6s in them than you should. The walnuts are actually, I think, have the lowest amount of omega 6s.
Sorry, it's still wet.
It's still wet, yeah. So you do not want to eat peanuts, soy nuts. Cashews are really not that good either, although they are in the bread that we're eating. They aren't the best. They are almost considered a legume.
So cashews compared to almonds?
Almonds would be just a hair better. You can make bread out of almond butter or almond flour. That's just not the recipe that I used tonight because I found out the cashews weren't that good after I had made this bread many times. So I know it's good.
The bread tastes good.
It tastes good, yes. So those are what I would recommend. So if you're if you need a snack, get a little snack Ziploc bag, put quarter cup of nuts in it, and that would be a serving size. That would be a good snack. So when you're doing your pie shape, you want to at least probably have 50%, if not more, of vegetables. So that's saying, if you're not a vegetable lover, next time we're going to learn how to spice them up and make them delicious. But I crave kale, which is your dark leafy greens, and sometimes that means you're low in iron or whatever. Maybe I'm not eating enough meats or anything, but I eat a lot of it. All right, if you'll dish them up, I'll get this ready.
Woohoo! Alright, is everyone okay with me making all of the bread with bruschetta at the same time? I'm gonna use balsamic and put bruschetta on top.
Tasty good. I'll get this going. This is a little mushier than I would have fixed. And you can make it where you don't cook that all the way done. So they're probably done in there, and you can see the difference between
So we
mushy.
leave it a little undone in there so that
If you don't like it, well, wait. We got to put the other stuff on here. Sorry.
yeah.
The cauliflower rice. Okay, there you go. Can put some on this.
We are having all carbs. Everyone has to run a marathon tomorrow.
Yeah. So tomorrow I'm doing a long run. So what I do for carbing up is a sweet potato. So I had my sweet potato for lunch with half an avocado and some venison sausage. And this.
And where did you get the
Slaw.
venison sausage?
My handy dandy husband that shoots it out
There
of
you go.
the front
But
door.
you didn't put it somewhere, just making sure.
Yeah. But you can get buffalo meat, and sometimes you can get venison at like your health food stores. Natural Grocers has buffalo. I think sometimes they have venison.
At the farmer's market.
And how do you fix your sweet potato? I'm not big on sweet potatoes, but
Um,
I try.
well, we're gonna roast them, and that'll be very delicious for you next time.
That works.
Okay. You be ready for some yummy tasty. He's not a fan of sweet potatoes either.
Show them.
Oh, you have one already. Okay.
And we have.
So this is the noodle substitute, which is spaghetti squash. This is the rice substitute, which is cauliflower rice. And this is the bread substitute, which is cashew bread. And there's bruschetta.
All right. All right. It's getting black. Black. All right. So we're gonna turn this down to 350. And then we're gonna put the bread in. Right there in the middle. All right. So when you do flip these things over, then, okay, I'm gonna use one of these plates. It's very hot, so either keep your mittens on or use a fork to,
If you use
That
two
is-
forks,
like that. So I'm gonna pull it over here. Can you see this? Okay, this came out of the oven. So then we're gonna fork it up, and it should be not as mushy as, see? And that's the way I like it, is like pasta. My mom would
So we
always
just
not
eat it
cook
like
it
this.
totally done because she hates mushy pasta. So making sure your knife can go all the way through is a good thing. If it can't, then it's still not done.
But I served mine just like that in the boat with the
Mhm.
spaghetti. I made a spaghetti meat sauce and just poured it over the
Stick it
top
right
of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that would
Yum.
be
Like I said, my husband ate it, so.
yeah. So it's good enough for everyone. So my next thing, so you can do it by itself or put sauce on it or, eat it for breakfast with eggs on it is good too. But things, okay, some other things to substitute, being that we're doing pastas right now.
Do you want a charger?
Can we have one?
Do you,
I don't know. What kind of phone is it?
Samsung.
some of the things that, so we don't do dairy, so I do coconut milk. Instead, the reason why I like to do it out of a can is because it has less ingredients, which that would be a class 2 on reading the ingredients, to make sure that you know what's in them. Like this has
Okay. Sorry. Sorry, I'm moving things.
coconut, water, and gargum, which is a thickener. So not very much. When you get them in a can or in the store, you have a carton. and you can see lots of things that they add to it. Sometimes they will add sugar to it, so don't get these sweetened. But you can do coconut milk, almond milk, hemp milk. What else did I put on here? Those are basically the ones that we use. And then we made ricotta cheese last time with the cashews. Even though the cashews aren't as good, you can make almond cheese also. I don't know about the macadamia cheese, but that would be something to try. It'd be very expensive cheese. But for soy sauce, there is coconut aminos, and that is only at a health food store. I cannot find it at Walmart. And if you're gonna eat chocolate, if you will eat at least 70, maybe even 80% to 100%, or make your own. You can make your own with coconut oil, cocoa powder, and either maple syrup or honey, and you can put a little bit of sea salt in it. Voila, you have chocolate. Just melt it, stir it up, put it in the refrigerator. You can make it as a ganache on top of something, or just eat it if you want to put it over your fruit. Okay. So, you guys have any questions so far? There's probably a couple other things. Nope, that's it. So the next class before he goes off, we haven't figured out a for sure date. Are we doing the 22nd? No, that's today.
That's today.
The 6th is
At 6 is what I initially.
right. I don't know. You
No,
guys,
sorry, the 5th.
5th
right,
is
if
a
we're
Friday,
sticking with Fridays.
and that is Good Friday.
It is.
I'm gonna be out of
I
town.
think. No, it's not.
Friday.
No, it's not. Never mind. Okay,
Yeah.
the next one I think is. But the next class will be how to shop, how to read labels, and figure out what's in them because we don't know what everything is in them. In it, as
Whatever
you're buying
it
it.
is.
Artificial sweeteners, and then we are making roasted vegetables and other ways to make your vegetables taste wonderful. So that will be with spices, oils, vinegars,
Or just cooking in a different way that you've never cooked
right.
it before.
Like your mom would boil Brussels sprouts or turnips, and I was like,
do that.
yeah. So roasting them is a good option. Seasoning them with something else, or even eating them raw. Okay, so that's the class tonight. If you have questions, thanks for watching. But you guys can ask